very good morning to you and welcome to the Front Burners. And we are reaching you live from our studios at Sook News Television. I am Oyinpreye Krumale. Good morning to you. It was said some time ago that commerce is the lifeblood of every nation. Business, economy, development is the lifeblood of Sook News Television. Good morning once again. Good morning to you, Doctor.
Good morning, Priye. Good Nigeria. Your prosperity is our joy, and that is why we are here again to talk about it. Making wealth for nations.
Yes, I think you sound like one of those, what would I call them? Those perspire to aspire to inquire so that you can transpire and all this.
This is beyond motivation. This is just the reality. Yes. We are here to build wealth for nations. So,
yes, exactly.
And that is why we exist.
We're jumping into things that are making the headlines, not only in the newspapers, but this time it's in the front pages of business, economy, and development. And to that effect, I'm handing you over to the only woman in the midst of two gentlemen. Good morning to you, Blessing.
Good morning, Pri. Good morning, Doc.
Good morning.
When you said the only woman in the midst of two gentlemen, it sounds like a prize.
That's the way you said it. Whenever
yes, and I always add that you men are happy to be here with me.
Of course we are.
But you didn't add that part.
Oh, we do. We are happy to have you with us.
All right, there's some news that perhaps would make Nigerians happy this morning. Let's check out some of them because they made headlines. So one of them is that Nigeria's economic policies, according to the president, are yielding positive results, with the country recording about $16 billion trade surplus, rising foreign reserves, and increased investor confidence. This is coming from the presidency, like I said. So in an interview, the special advisor to the president on media and public communications, Sunday Dare, attributed economic boost to the bold policy decisions of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration that have stabilized the financial sector, improved regulatory transparency, and enhanced Nigeria's attractiveness as an investment destination. All right, I'm going to go to Doctor first for this, because the last time we talked about investment, when the Minister for Trade and Investment was talking about some promised investment that Nigeria has been able to secure, about $50.8 billion, and how they're working to ensure that this investment actually come and is not promised investment anymore. So now the presidency is saying that because of the bold economic policies that this administration has made, Nigeria is recording some trade surplus as against what we used to have a lot, trade deficit. So that's good news, but what do we need to consolidate on this?
Well, good news indeed. There's no doubt that in the last 18 months that we have made some very significant progress as a country toward building a very economy. The president has taken some bold decisions, like people say, but they are just necessary decisions. Somebody would have asked, how will us have become if those steps were not taken? It would have been a disaster in the first place because, number one, the subsidy regime was not sustainable, and there was no way the country could have been able to survive it for 6 months if we had continued in the line that we're towing between 2015 to 2023. Secondly, we also see that, of course, the president is also doing a lot to see how to tighten up the MDA so that every government agencies that receive revenue, and these are transmitted straight to government accounts, and that, of course, is also getting some positive results, and government is making every move. But that is not just it all. It's also to look at some other things that we can actually do very well. Yes, investor confidence, but we're also looking at is where is this confidence actually coming on. Just yesterday, we also record that, of course, from 39.7 billion US dollar reserve in February, we have lost about 1.3 billion. And now, of course, the reserve is going down a little bit. And this, of course, you can also attribute to the issues that are happening around managing our monetary challenges, inflation, trying to deal with the exchange rate issues. 2 weeks ago, we saw it climbing down now again is climbing up. And all this back and forth are still issues that, of course, nation need to put attention to say how do we eventually and finally put paid to the issue of instability in terms of our currency as it relates to other major currencies of the world. And I think that is the focus of the government, and I think the CBN is also doing a lot to see how that can stabilize. But I think a lot more needs to be done. We need to be able to get people off poverty. We need to be able to make sure that there's food on the table of the average man. And that's a question that we must ask. Are people getting better health now? Are people having good quality food right now? Is education getting better? Is the healthcare services all becoming better? These are the questions eventually at the end of the day that will say, oh, Mr. President, you have done excellently very well.
I want to speak to the aspect of the trade surplus, $16 billion. That's a great one, but I think more needs to be done to ensure that we are actually exporting so much more. Now, what do we basically export? We export agricultural produce out of Nigeria and sometimes agricultural products. So we need to build on the value chain to ensure that we are not just exporting primary products, but we have processing as much as we can, and we also the value chain runs to the extent that we can, by ourselves, produce some of the byproducts that can be gotten from the agricultural produce that we're exporting and then re-importing because we cannot produce them or we cannot add value to some of them. So Nigeria has competitive advantage in a lot of agricultural produce like sesame seeds and a lot of other agricultural produce, cash crops even, cocoa and all. But how much are we producing? Are we even meeting the market demand? So locally and internationally. So we need to invest more in agriculture, and we need to be intentional about how we do agriculture here so that it's not just the same old practice where it's a lot on subsistence level, but it's at a level where it doesn't end at bringing out the farm produce and we consume directly or we export, but we are processing to ensure that we get different products from one particular produce. That's the only way that we can have a lot to actually export. And then for other areas, manufacturers groan about the power situation. They groan about different challenges that limit their capacity. So I think the government needs to work on that. Recently, even businesses were complaining because of some new taxes that have been introduced by a body, the FRCN. So I think in the area of ease of business, government needs to improve on that to ensure that it is not just investors we're attracting, but the local businesses here are able to survive and are able to do well. So if you're a manufacturer, you're better able, you're scaling up rather than scaling down because of the cost of production. And you have a competitive advantage with foreign goods that are produced in the market because your price is not more expensive than imported goods, and so the consumer has to settle for the cheap one because yours is very expensive given the high cost of production.
Okay, first of all, this is a promotional write-up from the presidency. It can't be blowing its trumpet that we have made $16 billion from trade surplus.
But don't you see it as reporting? It's like they're reporting their activities.
Can we verify this? Now, this is coming from the presidency. The presidency shouldn't just churn out this promotional literature or write-up and throw it to the public. So what we expect the presidency to do was that, okay, we have made or we are making $16 billion trade surplus because we did this, that, and the other, and we got $3 billion. We did this, that, and the other, and we're expecting this, and we're expecting that. This is just a straight lineup, and it's meant to promote the administration. Fine, and there's nothing wrong with promoting the administration and the economic reform policies that the current administration is doing, some of which we have acknowledged that brings forth a good omen to the administration. However, how did we come about $16 billion trade surplus when just recently we've lost 3.3% of our foreign reserves? How did we come about that?
Maybe
How
from
did,
the
how did we come about
exports?
how did we come about trade $16 billion trade surplus when recently the government through the Nigerian Customs Service has increased the tariff to 4%, and NPA is increasing tariff in the ports by 15%. How do we come about a trade surplus of $16 billion? How do we come about that specific figure when at the moment it looks as if the little gains that the administration has made so far, we are about to nullify them with our current economic policies or with another policy somersault that is imminent, that is staring us in the face? How did we come about this? So I think it is not Mr. Sunday Dare who was speaking on behalf of the president as a media advisor shouldn't just put this out. He should give details on how we came about $16 billion and not just throw it out there and say because of the laudable economic policies that the administration is embarking on, we have gone this far. I don't really think so.
Well, I want to agree with you on the aspect of providing details and not just putting out some reports. So there's a part where government needs to let people know what it is doing and what results is coming from policies that it has made. At the same time, there has to be specific details. And I think that rests with the Office of the Minister for Trade and Investment to actually give specific details. So we know what sectors are contributing to this and know where to improve. And so if there are policies that are counterproductive, we also know which policy to tweak and which we should leave.
Yeah, but I think the data are there because it's Nigerian Bureau for Statistics that is rolling out some of all this data. And what you're doing, you're comparing what happened last year with what is happening this year, what happened in the last quarter and what is happening in this quarter, what is the volume that was done in terms of exports in quarter 3 and against what is done in quarter 4. And this particular report is reflecting on what happened in the 4th quarter of 2024. That, of course, we recorded some significant increase or rise in terms of the things that we are exporting out of Nigeria. That, of course, traded about 36 trillion, and the figures are there with the Nigerian Bureau for Statistics, and this is what we are responding to. But yeah, comparatively, you are looking at it, what we sold has increased from what was. But that is not definitely comparing what is imported versus what we are able to do. But you also will know that in quarter 4, between October 1st of 2024 to December, Nigerians have not been importing petroleum products massively as we used to. That has gone down very drastically, and therefore we have made some significant gains in terms of importation. That what we seems to import right now are things that we can get from other places. Food item importation also had gone down drastically because, of course, the last quarter of last year, a lot of bumper harvest in terms of food production, beans production, you have onions and the rest of it all coming out, and then, of course, 25% reduction in terms of food costs in the market, as NBS had reported. So
NBS reported. I like that you stated that as NBS reported, because we will look at that if that is the reality.
In terms of food reduction. Actually, of course, if you take your microphone to the street, you find that a lot of people can actually acknowledge that some prices are going down.
But it cannot be 25%, because 25% is significant.
Yes, yes.
Quite
what we call 25%, it's significant, but of course, it's also, you can also really verify some of all those things happening. Because if in December you are buying a bag of rice at 105,000 and today you are buying at 83,000, that gives you a significant amount. And
for rice.
For rice, I'm telling you. So these are the facts on the market, so they can't lie, really, because if you go to shops, you can see some of all these things happen. But I think what we need to really be amplifying is to see how do we do more trade with these big countries that we are earning far more than what we currently are doing, because there's a whole lot of room for improvement. Because if these matters are not communicated, people seem as nothing is happening. You see, it's easier for us to always shout to the rooftop when things are going on the other side. When petroleum price got to 1,065 naira, everybody seems to have been, crying and say, we are going to 2,000. This regime is bad. Now, petrol is selling, depending on where you're buying, between 860 and 870 on the pump price. When you also look at that, it's also about 25% reduction. So you find that these facts are there in the market space, that a lot is being done. But I think there's more that can be done in terms of our own policy. How is it impacting, for example, agriculture? Because we also saw that in quarter 3, quarter 2, and quarter 4, what our agricultural product is contributing to the GDP has also been consistently falling. And so how do we show up the production in terms of supporting farmers, whether they are smallholders farmers or we're looking at people who are big commercial farmers, to be able to do excellently well, and then we can supply food to people who need it. Now, China is trying to put a tariff on American agricultural product, so we can become a Chinese food market and then supply a lot of agricultural product to China and then make hard and foreign exchange.
Doug, that part that you touched, you just said waters. So let's get into the waters.